Okay, I believe we are live. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Happy Friday to you. Happy July. I think it's been a while since I've done an interview because we just had a crazy few months. Everyone's busy in the summer. I think the last one I did was in May. But here I am again with a guest. I'm here, if you didn't already know, with author Richard P. Stone to talk about reading, writing, publishing, and more. Hey Richard, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. I'm glad to be here.
Makes
Richard,
two of us.
what's that? Sorry.
It makes two of us.
Great. Richard is a sci-fi author and has written a post-apocalyptic novel called Survivors of the Mutant Dawn, along with a sequel, I believe. Is that right?
It is.
Great. But I'll let him tell you a little bit more about those in a minute. So as always, I'm very grateful that Richard has agreed to be with us here today and answer some of our questions. Always like hearing from other authors, especially other published authors about their journey. So as always, I have some questions prepared, but also let's make this an interactive discussion. So if you're watching this today, if you're a fan, a reader, an aspiring author yourself, or just as someone who likes good stories, whatever, any or all of the above, post your questions in the chat about reading, writing, publishing, any of those topics. We want to hear from you too. Okay, should be a good time. So Richard, just first, before, for those who aren't familiar, can you give us a quick overview of your book or your two books? What are they about? What genre do you write in, that kind of thing?
Well, the two books were actually a happy accident. Tell you the story how they came about. I was an eighth grade science teacher, and it was back in the early 2000s, and when Lord of the Rings was about to come out. And I heard these kids talking like, oh man, I can't wait for the video to come out. And I said, guys, you do realize they created a game based on Lord of the Rings about 25 years ago. And they said, well, what's it called? And I said, well, it's called Dungeons and Dragons. And
Nice.
what's that? And I said, hold that thought. So I got my brother, who was a dungeon master. I used to play back, 30, 40 years ago. So he gave me his stuff. I rolled the kids up characters. I took out a module. In 30 minutes every morning we played. And these kids were like blown away, like, oh my God, you can use your imagination and have fun. So I did it for about 3 years. So then we got a new principal in, and the new principal says, I want all teachers to have a club. Cool. I'm good. I'm ready. So new assistant principal came in and said, well, do you have a club? I said, sure do. And he says, well, tell me about it. Well, it's a role-playing situation. It's critical thinking, out-of-the-box thinking. It's team strategy. It's math. It's science. He goes, oh my God, it's amazing. What's it called? I said, it's called Dungeons and Dragons. Nope, we can't do that because, people worship Satan over it and people have been killed over it. We can't do it. And he said, well, take it to the principal. So I go to the principal. I gave her the whole spiel. And she loved the idea, but she never asked me for the name. So before I left, I said, I got to tell you the name of it. She goes, what is it? I said, Dungeons and Dragons. Nope, we can't do that. I said, well, I don't have a game. I don't have a club. She said, do you have a game that is like Dungeons and Dragons that is not Dungeons and Dragons? Just so happened that back when I played with my brother, he was a dungeon master and we would play. And every now and then he says, you know what? I'm tired of being a dungeon master. I want to play too. So I went out and got a game. It was Gamma World, which was a post-apocalyptic. Cool. So I was the game master for that when we played, whenever we had time. So I said, well, I do have a game. So I got it. I rolled the kids up characters. I kind of made a little adventure. We went through it. And I kept the character sheets, and every day I'd write their history down, everybody's perspective of what happened. And after a while, I started looking down. I said, I got something here. So I started writing it, started putting it together. And as all writers, we're very sensitive of people, what they read about our stuff.
Yeah.
So my best friend was a language arts teacher. I said, would you edit this for me? And he said, yeah, sure, no problem. When he gave it back to me, I thought Jack the Ripper just showed up. There was so much red in it. I mean, I just went like, oh, I can't do this. I'm out, But the tiny voices in my head says, no, keep going. You
got something there.
So I tried, continue writing in bits and bits. So I went to a different school, and I was kind of dabbing in it, but I really wasn't totally committed in it because I was starting to get to the point where I'm going, what's the point of this? Why am I doing this? So I met a librarian there, and I asked her, can you edit my story? And she goes, I ain't editing nothing. No. I went, oh, okay. She says, but I will read it. I went, all right. So I printed out 3 chapters. I put it on her desk on a manila folder. I passed by her room 4 days. It never moved. It was in the same exact spot. And I went, well, that's it. I'm done. So over the weekend, I was athletic director and I had to get there early to wash the football uniform. So I was one of the first ones in school, and my classroom was all the way in the back of the school. So I go back to my classroom and there's the librarian there clutching the folder. She says, "Crap, I need more of this. This is awesome." I said, "Seriously?" She goes, "Yeah." After that, the words just ran through my fingers on the keyboard. I just couldn't stop. It just came out.
Yeah.
So that was about the process of the beginning of the story till finally I published was about 20 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And originally, she says, I kind of like to know what happened before, like what caused all this to happen. So I created another story, and basically I put it in the same book, and it got pretty thick. So I met my mentor, who's Don Greenfield Ireland. She kind of took me under her wing. She had a writer's critique that I went to, which was, any writers out there, I strongly recommend writer's critique. You can learn so much about writing by getting other views and other eyes seeing your story. So, I started writing and getting bigger. And she says, "You know what? You got 2 books in here. Why don't you break them up and make 2 books?" So I did that. So actually, my first book I published was the second book I wrote. And the second book I published was the first book I wrote.
Okay. I've heard a few authors do things like that before.
Yeah, because the timeline worked out perfectly with it and stuff like that. So basically, my book is based on a role-playing game called Gamma World.
Nice.
And it's kind of sci-fi fantasy type.
Okay.
And, I've had a lot of people read it. Well, I wish I could say a lot of, like, millions and stuff like that. But the people that have read it, that give me good reviews, most of them say the same thing. I'm not a sci-fi reader. I'm not into sci-fi, but this book, I couldn't put it down.
It's awesome.
And basically the same because it's character driven.
Right. That's what you want to hear. I write superheroes. I want people to say the same thing. And I've had one or two people say that. Like I'm not always a superhero person, but I was attached to characters, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, they read it, and they can't wait for the next book. So those books have been out, both of them out of 5 stars are rating about 4.7, which awesome. I'll take.
Yeah.
And I did win the runner-up division, science fiction division at the Hollywood Book Festival in 2021.
That's great.
No producers have called yet. I guess it's because of the strike. Who knows?
Okay. Yeah. Don't give up on our dreams.
Yes. So so that's, I started writing. I've always been a writer as a kid. Yeah. I used to write, about us neighborhood kids. We were spies, and I'd write that we were spies, part of an organization, because the Man from U.N.C.L.E. and all that was about the time of that. Then Star Trek came around. Oh, okay, now we're all in a spaceship going through space and stuff like that, And then I saw the Guns of the Magnificent Seven. Oh, now we're out in the Old West and stuff like that. So I always enjoyed putting something down on paper.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time I started getting seriously about it, I was about 60 years old, when I started putting this all together. So it's never too late. Never too late.
It's awesome. Awesome to hear that. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing all that. It sounds like you were a fun teacher.
I was a teacher that students loved and administration hated.
In a sense, that's what you want to be. And I taught for a little while, and I taught English for a little while, and my wife teaches. So I get it. You want to. Yes, you have to teach, but you want to have those fun times with students too.
Well, most of my teaching, even though I taught science and I was a coach, most of my teaching was about life. I try to get these kids prepared for life because, they don't do anything to teach them how to checkbook. They don't teach them anything about money or, about what to expect down the road and everything. So, that's why they didn't like me too much, because there's a lot of times I was, giving a different message other than the curriculum. I taught down here in Texas, and I got out of it because teaching is really not teaching anymore. It's about it's a business. You want to make money.
I got burned out also. Even as a young person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What part of Texas are you in?
Huh?
What part of Texas are you in?
I am in Cypress, Texas, which is still northwest of Houston.
Very nice. I'm in Arlington, which is DFW area. So.
Oh, you're a Texas boy, huh?
Wasn't raised here, but I moved here a few years ago for a job, and we like it so far.
You couldn't wait to get here. So
That's what they'll say. Yeah. So we're not too far off. Okay.
yeah.
Well, cool. You give us some good backstory on you.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit more about the books themselves. Like, so
Well,
Survivor and the Mutant Dawn. They're
okay. The
post-apocalyptic.
first book starts out, the first chapter of the book says it all. It's
Okay.
the last day of civilization. And it's basically, they start out in the White House, the Situation Room, and a nuclear bomb just exploded in Antarctica.
Okay.
And of course, they're saying, who uses such an ancient technology, a nuclear bomb? Because in the future, they use what's called laser nukes, which
Okay.
basically, when it hits, a laser beam just spreads out and just wipes everything out.
Wow.
So, anyway, the Secretary of State kind of had an idea of what was going to happen. And he had a brother that worked at the New England Institute of Technology, formerly MIT, which is now NEIT.
Okay.
And he was a brilliant scientist and made robots and stuff like that. So he created a super bunker in the Driftless area in Minnesota. Well, when they found out the nuclear bomb went off, they found out there was a mutant base in Antarctica. They were building something. They later discovered that they were building these floating icebergs that was able to launch nuclear weapons. And they also sent out a AI virus over the HoloNet, which in the future you don't have the internet, you have a HoloNet. And it started it's kind of like Skynet. It started taking over machines that were satellite controlled and turned them into their own entities.
Yeah.
And their main job was to get rid of humans. So all hell starts breaking loose. Originally, the plan was the Secretary of State was going to be taken from the White House into this bunker by a spy, a South African spy by the name of Martin Hasp, aka Agent Maggot, and he was known as Marty. And he takes him out of the White House, but he says, "I'm not leaving until I have the president." So he kidnaps the president too, because he needs his DNA, his fingerprint, his retina scan for other things, because everything's going to lock down after a nuclear bomb, and he's going to have to be the one that kind of brings things back.
Is that Agent your main character?
Huh?
Is that
Marty,
Agent your
Marty,
hero?
yeah, Marty is the connection between all the books.
Okay.
So they fly to Minnesota. They have a problem. The robots find out their position. So as they're landing, robots attack the plane as he's landing, causing a crash. The president survives. He loses his left leg. The Secretary of State survives. No, he loses his arm. Secretary of State survives. He loses his left leg. And they get bionics to get that back. Well, Marty, the only thing that survived in Marty was his brain. That was it. So the original plan was, okay, we're going to wait for the fallout, which will take about 15, 20 years, and then we'll go back to the surface. Well, the mutants messed that up by sending dirty bombs, and now the half-life is 900 years.
Wow. Wait, who are the mutants in your world? Is it like, are they like comic book mutants, or are they like zombies? Or
I did a twist. I did a twist on that. In the story, they talk about the CIA discovered in 1970 an ancient spacecraft that crashed in the Arctic Circle. And while they were exploring it, apparently there was an alien DNA there that can blend into anybody's body and pass on the traits of whatever they were connected with.
Okay.
And any way that, body fluids exchanged or anything like that, it gets transmitted to somebody else. And then all the past DNA material they have from everything else is passed on. And it's randomly. They get something out of it or they don't get anything out of it. And some humans had it, but they were carriers more than they were mutants.
Okay.
Anyway, so they believe this is the time mutants started to come about, was from the alien DNA.
Okay.
So one guy got it, and then he just, didn't think anything of it, and like sharing food with somebody, sharing a drink, maybe urinating out on a plant, something, it got moved on to somebody else. So eventually it grew out to the rest of the population. And so, but the mutants were kind of a secret, but not really, a rumor more than anything. It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever saw Roswell movie about the guy says, yeah, we gave all the truth to all the crazy people. So that way they would tell everybody what's going on, but nobody believed them.
Yeah.
So, but then they started noticing that the mutants started to get organized, and they couldn't tell if it was a complete one organization or just different pods of organizations. Mm-hmm. So the mutants made their move to destroy the world, so they had to get out of there. And so in the last day of civilization, technically the mutants and the humans were at war. So the brother of the Secretary of State, Michael Isabella, he ran some tests on the Earth's surface after the bombs and was going to make sure that, how long exactly is the half-life? And then he started finding out, wait a minute, wait. 900 years, it's supposed to be 1520. Then he discovers that there were dirty bombs used. Wow. So he has to come up with an idea for them to survive. And the option to survive was a horrific one they had to decide, that their brains can survive, but their bodies can't. So Marty was the prototype of having his brain put in a robotic body. Okay. And he showed his brother to start telling, but this time the military decided they wanted to take over the complex. And so there was a struggle. At the end of that struggle, it was decided, that the military lost. And so they decided that, they were told, if you want to live 900 years in the future, you're going to have to give up your brain, and it's going to have to be in cryogenics. And then when we come out of it, we can go find somebody that has similar DNA or something, and we can put that in their body. Okay. Well, the Secretary of State had found out during the conflict he had stomach cancer. So he, when they decided that there's a platform to put the president on there, when the president wasn't there, they put him in the platform that kind of controlled all the complex. But he had his stomach cancer apparently went to his brain and gave him a tumor. When they woke up in the future, Marty was the only one that knew how to control his body. Everybody else was learning how to walk and stuff like that. Yeah. He did a reconnaissance and he found out that there was a complex not far, about a mile from where they were at, but mutants and humans were working together. They were coexisting. And this drove the Secretary crazy. He didn't like that. He wanted to reclaim the United States. He wanted his land back. So they would do things. They would build their army. They would raid little villages. They would take the humans away. Nobody knew where they went. Right. And they would slaughter all the mutants. So that what basically came about the second book. The second book is 900 years in the future. Right.
So all that was like the setup kind of.
Right.
Okay.
And the second book's called Mutated Lands. Okay. And it's basically starts with a group getting together because one person from the area where all this is happening has to go back to defend his homeland. So he gets these people to join.
Okay. I don't want to give away your whole plot, but like, I don't want to give away your whole plot because I want to read the book, but maybe the premise. So the second book starts in the future, and you just give us a set of how that future goes.
Marty is in both books because he gets in a pickle, and he's got to figure out how to get out of it.
Cool.
He's in a unique prison, so
yeah.
That and a lot of it's from his perspective because he's seeing things for the first time.
Yeah, that's cool. So it sounds like you got a lot of elements in there. I mean, you got the mutants, the robots, the post-apocalyptic future kind of thing.
Right.
So the second book is more about the survivors years later.
The second book, the survivors and the adventurers as they go through. They're trying to get to this place, and they're a unique brand of people. One is a half man, half wolf, strong man.
Okay.
One is a plant man, green skin, photosynthetic skin.
Those are the mutants, basically.
Right. And I got one mutant. The two main mutants of the story. One is a girl that she has stunning pink irises.
Okay.
And she has a floating metallic ball that she has to have for her heart. And that ball just so happens to be a neutron bomb.
Wow.
And then there's another character who's a human who's kind of the comedy relief, the guy, the smart guy that kind of explained things. His name is Semper Fi.
Nice.
And he's totally insane. And he carries a thermonuclear bomb on his back that he thinks is his wife.
Okay.
And but the other guy that's main character is Strider, with a Y.
Nice.
And he's kind of a legendary. They've heard rumors about him, but he never's really confirmed or denied it.
Very mysterious kind of type.
Right. And he has gills.
Okay.
He rides this huge animal called a Kaloo. It's got a Clydesdale body and an apish face with green scales. And so, yeah, so it's kind of like the future is kind of like the feudal system, kind of like history has been totally forgotten, and they try to put it back together again. So, and then the third book I got, I'm just now finished it. I'm waiting for the artist to do the cover. It's called The Survivors in the Mutated Lands, and I've just started the fourth book. So
your second book is that ragtag band of heroes or whatever, going on a quest together, trying to get somewhere.
Right.
Book 3, same characters, like following their adventures still.
Yes, there's some new ones join in. There's some of them that die. So
that's what happens in a story usually. But okay,
exactly.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, it's something you've done. You put a lot of thought into this. You've done a lot of world building. Like you've figured out how they've gotten here over hundreds of years, and you've
because as a writer, one thing I read, I went to when I first started deciding to put a book together, they had a speaker at Barnes and Noble. So I went there to kind of give you an idea when you're writing, these are the things you need to think about.
Right.
And she said one thing that stuck in my mind. She says, every page needs to have a conflict. Now, it could be a gigantic war and all this stuff, or it could be having trouble with the coffee maker. There's some type of struggle somewhere, You can have a headache. The door doesn't open the way you want or something like that. There's got to be something on every page that gives you a feeling that the reader feels, yeah, I go through that too.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like the advice. Yeah, that's because you want. I mean, I think we were talking about this earlier, but you want the reader to be able to relate to your characters, even if they can't relate to being on this quest with mutants 900 years in the future. They can relate to human struggles, and that's what we all need. Yeah.
Everybody has struggles. Mutants are humans. Everybody has to deal with something. Animals too. So, when I started writing it, I didn't want to be cliche like everybody else and stuff like that. So I gave it a lot of thought. Okay, how would this perceive to somebody now? You see something that's, you never seen before, and you got to react. And what if something that you see all the time, you just take it for granted? So basically, the mutants and the humans that live in the future, nothing looks different. Everything's the way it's supposed to be because that's what they grew up in. But anybody coming from the past would take things a little differently. So
that's kind of, I think I said this before in probably some of my videos, but that's kind of the formula for good sci-fi or fantasy. You have extraordinary circumstances, but ordinary people. By which I mean even if they have powers or whatever, they're relatable human people.
That's perfectly
realistic, believable people in extraordinary circumstances, and you got to find the story there.
Yes.
Cool. I like it. I like the idea. I know you touched on this already because I was going to ask how you got interested in writing this genre, and obviously you shared about your RPG game that inspired it. Do you have any other books, movies, authors that have inspired you in like specifically writing this kind of story or writing sci-fi in general? What are your
when I was a kid, I'd read kind of the classics like Pinocchio and other stuff like that. And then as I grew, I used to play basketball in Puerto Rico and did it for 11 years. So a lot of time I had a lot of downtime. So I started reading novels. The 2 books that I read that I finished in under 2 days, Jaws and Amityville Horror. I couldn't put those down. And then the other, and then I started reading crime, and then as basketball rolled around, I got in my second career coaching. I'd read autobiographies and stuff like that about certain people in basketball. And then I got out of basketball and stuff. I just been kind of I read right now Dawn Ireland Greenfield's books. I mean,
Okay.
she has a series going, which is really interesting. It's called Cat's Cat.
Okay.
And it's about a reporter in a small town in Texas. She gives a lot of Texas flavor in her writing.
You mentioned
And it's about a reporter with a psychic cat.
cool. I'm not familiar, but I'm gonna look her up now. You said
Yeah.
Dawn Greenfield?
Dawn Greenfield, Ireland.
Okay.
She's written a number of books out there.
I see her name on Goodreads now. I might have to mark her. What's what would you recommend? What's
okay, Cat's one. She's written a science fiction of the Thaw series, which is basically a girl falls through a portal into a different universe, and then they connect. She's written one. She wrote an erotic thriller. It's a series called Bonded about shapeshifters.
Okay.
And then she also wrote a good dystopian novel called The Last Dog on Earth, and she has a series going with that. She's written a number of stories. Her probably her most awarded one was her hot chocolate series.
Okay, I saw that too when I looked her up just now.
Yeah, which is basically a family that runs a chocolate business, and there's some supernatural paranormal stuff going on with that. So she always gives that little twist of something different, which is really good to read.
That's cool. It's good to be prolific and have a wide range of interests, and it sounds like. Yeah, and for you as a writer, it's good to be reading the writers who are doing the kind of thing you want to do well, and they're being inspired to them. Okay. Right. Cool. How long do you think you'd survive in a robot/mutant apocalypse?
Okay. I did part of my training watching The Walking Dead, but then I stopped after Rick left, and I just kind of went,
watch the whole series. That was most of it.
Right. But the thing I loved about that show was it wasn't about zombies. It was about how humans respond in a zombie situation.
I agree. I read the comics and watched the show, and it's right. I think it is character driven.
And I think to survive in it, you'd have to be very smart, very aware, very resilient, and very lucky. Because so you never know when you make the wrong turn, and next thing you know, you're surrounded. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting thing to notice. But how I would survive in it, I would take advantage of chances that I would have and live as long as I possibly could, but knowing that nothing lasts forever.
It's true. Yeah, even the main character has to leave it eventually. So
there you go.
Yeah. No, I feel the same. I'm like I don't think I'd do well. I mean, I have no fighting training, no combat training. The one advantage I do have is I've watched shows like that, so so assuming the rules work the same in our universe, I know kind of some things to look out for. Exactly. You got to find a group, got to find find a community to help keep you safe and find what you can contribute.
Right, and you never know what you possibly can do until you hit an adverse situation where you have no other choice other than to do what you have to do. True. So, there's some tough choices to make there.
Yeah. Well, as much as it's fun to dream about in fiction, I don't think we're headed for an apocalypse anytime soon.
Nope.
But
only in the political system that we got zombies.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other topic. We don't have time for that today.
Right. That's a totally different podcast.
Yeah. I'm not brave enough for that one right now. No.
Yep.
I was going to ask you, how do you find the time to write? But then again, I'm not sure. Are you still teaching, working?
No, I retired. I retired.
Are you able to write full time then?
I got a couple of part-time jobs. Okay. When I was writing the story to begin with, before I published, I got me a little tiny composition book. You can get about this big. And I mean, I had it with me at all times. And every time I thought it would hit me, I'd write it down. Best place for my ideas came traffic stops. I come to a stop, take it out. Yeah. Okay, I got it down. Of course, middle of the night, you get up, you got to type something because that idea, you don't know if you're going to have it in the morning.
That's right.
I hate to say I'm a poor excuse for a Catholic. So at church, sometimes I was kind of writing it down a little bit. But now I do have time I can sit down and write. I'm kind of juggling all three of my books. My second one, my editor, who is Dawn, found some mistakes in it. So she sent me a sheet of everywhere the mistakes were. So I had to correct them all and send them back to her.
Okay.
My third one, like I said, right now is I got everything ready to go except an artist. And I've tried a couple of different, my second book, the artwork is not so good because I got my firstborn to do it because, when I was in high school or junior high, I said, hey, can I give me a description of your characters? I want to draw them up. And I liked what I saw. And so I said, can you do my first cover? And when I got it, I kind of went, I don't know if that's going to be good enough. So I had to send that to Serbia to a 16-year-old girl to enhance it.
Wow.
So she made it a little better. But I'm thinking, you know what? I can get something better than this. So I'm waiting to see what happens. I had a number of people that said they were going to do it and try to do it. It just didn't work out on their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a friend of mine I've known him for 40 years. He was kind of the manager of the basketball team my last year I played on back in '83.
Cool.
And he's an artist. He does all types of artworks and, museums and stuff like that. And he says, hey, I want to have a shot at it. And I went, okay, sure. And so we talked on the phone, and it was a totally different experience for me. He says, I need you to, your characters you want on the cover, I need you to pose for them so I can draw them. And I kind of looked at him like, what do you mean? He says, I want to get your eyes. I want to get, your colors and all that in them. And I kind of went, that's unique. But, I said, this is crazy, but Steve, he's crazy as a fox. He's always got a plan for something. But, on that token, the girl who played, when we played in middle school in homeroom, I had a girl play the main character, Commandy, the girl. And she was very good at playing. I mean, she was very, all the guys wanted to go in blasting guns and doing this, and they all got killed and had to get new characters. But she was always very cautious and very smart, what she did. And when she left 8th grade, after high school was over, after school, she'd come back down, come to my room, want to read what I wrote and stuff like that.
Nice.
We kept in touch over the years. She, whenever she was having problems, she'd call me because, she didn't have her dad and then around and stuff like that. Or she didn't want to talk to her dad about certain things. So she'd talk to me about it. When she got pregnant, lost her son, she talked to me about it. When she got pregnant, had a son. She was very proud and stuff like that. She had gotten married to some guy that was basically alcoholic, drug addict type guy.
Wow.
So, when I told her the first book came out, she was really excited for the second book because that's where her character was going to be.
Okay.
So I decided I was going to put her character on the cover. So I was sitting on the sofa drawing her character. And I get a text from somebody told me that girl had died at 32.
Oh. Wow.
And I was like, are you serious? And I looked down, I'm drawing her and I'm finding this out. So I go to the wake and nobody knows who I am. And I'm overhearing conversation that, she's happier now. She's doing better. And I found out she was an alcoholic. She never told me that she had a problem with it, but she went to rehab and got it all straightened out. So she kicked the habit and was ready to move forward, but all her organs just shut down on her. And so she was 32, had a 7-year-old son.
That's right.
Had divorced that guy. So when the grandfather says, can people come up and say something about it? Well, I wasn't familiar with all the negative. So I kind of looked up and I said, I was an 8th grade teacher. I wrote a book about her character. I decided I'm going to dedicate the book to her and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. And I could just feel the emotion just kind of rise. Like everybody was just relieved, like feeling happy again and stuff like that. So I had I put a in memory page inside the second book about her.
Okay.
And I wanted to get her face on the character.
Okay.
And I went to one guy. The guy did my first cover. I went to him first, but what he was charging me was just a little too much because he was in school. He says, yeah, I'll do it if the money's right. And I said, well, I'm not that kind of writer that makes that kind of money. So I gave up. I didn't think about it. So when Steve came to me and I said, Steve, can you put her face on the girl's face? He said, yeah, no problem. I'll do that. I went, perfect.
Awesome.
So, she was excited. She was hoping to read that book, but, and I ended up meeting her sister, her father, and her son. and because her sister took her son into custody, and I gave them all a copy of the book and everything. So sister sent me a picture when they left after we met. The son was in the back seat reading the book, which I thought that was really cool.
That's awesome. Okay. That is a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I don't know what question I could have asked to get there, but I'm glad we could discuss that, because yeah, let it never be said that that reading and gaming are just are just silly, because they have healing power to
Yes. Oh, I agree. I
people's
agree.
lives, I think. I'm looking at your author page now.
Mhm.
And I can see the book. Is she the one on the cover? Is that the girl, or is it somewhere else?
That's the girl on the second book. That's the girl inside the book you saw.
Um,
Or
I,
you-
I'm only seeing the cover now in your cover
okay,
photo.
yeah, that's the character. Her character's in that book. Yeah.
Okay. Is she the one on the front cover?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Those of you who are listening to the audio later, you can
All
obviously
right.
see this. Maybe you can come to Facebook, come to Richard P. Stone's other page on Facebook and find his cover photo. So there on Mutated Lands, that she's the girl there.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I still can't. I can't enlarge it very much right now.
Right.
That's awesome that you were able to honor her in that way.
Right.
Is it so if you get the book Mutated Lands, you can see that picture and see her on there.
Yeah.
Um,
Now,
who is
if you notice, I also have these cards down the front of
yeah,
the book.
I did see that.
Marketing is hard and
Yeah.
expensive. So
Hmm.
I went to Print Runner where you can print out your cards, and on the back have little synopsis and all the contact numbers and stuff like that. So that's how I market. I go to comic book shops, game shops, and I
Nice.
go to the owner and I said, I'll make you a deal. If I can leave these cards here, I'll buy something in the store. And every time I come back, if somebody's taking a card, I'll buy something else.
Cool.
So it's worked out. I've hit a number of shops around here in the Houston area, and also in Huntsville and San Antonio. That these guys are really good. They say, yeah, sure, no problem, stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's a good marketing strategy.
yeah,
My book isn't published yet, but I've thought about what I'm going to do, and I mean, mine is superheroes, so yeah, I want to go to bookstores, but also hope to go to comic book stores and things like that. So
right. But if you're going to do Print Runner, a word of advice:
okay,
get rounded corners. Those sharp corners hurt. I mean, they are sharp.
good
Yeah,
enough.
get
Thank you.
rounded corners. That works. And then also, my editor told me that now she has like a business card, and on the back of the card has all her covers of her book. So she said you can put all three of your covers on there, and that would help me out because there's a lot of times I'm in the supermarket or something, and I can't carry those big cards like that. So if I can get a smaller business card, like I can always hand out to people there in supermarket or whatever. So yeah, so it just gives me another option that I can do.
Yeah, is who is your artist who did that? Can you give us a name, just in case?
Which one? The first
Um,
one?
well, I guess either, but I'm of course interested most in the one who did the picture of the girl.
Well, originally Vic Stone, my firstborn, did that.
Okay.
And then I sent it to a girl, what was her name, in Serbia. Where are you? I got you here somewhere.
If you can't find it, I just wanted to give credit
Yeah,
to the artist
yes.
used.
I got her name here. Just pull this up real quick.
And so also in case anyone else listening wants to look them up.
Yeah, because she did a couple of Don's books,
Okay.
which was
Okay.
really kind of very impressive, stuff like that. So yeah, so I mean, her name is Ariana or something like that.
Okay.
But
It's,
I'll send it to you.
fine.
I'll
Okay.
send
If she's credited in your book,
Yes, it is. It's credited in all the acknowledgments and stuff like that. Yeah, I always give credit out there.
Yeah, you
Where,
should. That's awesome. Okay, well, we're having a great conversation. I wanted to say, anyone else still watching? I see we have like a few viewers maybe. Post your comments in the chat for Richard or any questions or anything. I'm not sure how to follow up that great story because that was honestly maybe the heart of your story. It sounds like or your writing. But I did want to ask you also about your publishing process and how that went about. So you had so over time you came up with these stories. You had the idea to write them down. You want to get them published. how did you go about your publishing process? Did you do self-published or traditional? And
I
then
did self-publishing. The story goes though, back when I started putting the book together, I said, well, I got to find a publisher. So I did the query letters and got rejected every time I got it back. I
right.
went to, they had in Dallas one year, they had a sci-fi convention, and they
Cool.
had a guy that was going to do a conversation, about publishing. He was a writer for Marvel, writer for Angel and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, stuff like that.
Who
So
was
I
it?
went there, huh? I can't remember his name.
Uh,
And he was, it was a 2-day thing, and we were sitting there talking, and he was taking question and answers. And I just found out about self-publishing from a
mhm.
friend of mine that was doing it. And he was trying to get me to do it. And I said,
I
well,
mean, it's been around for a while, but it's got gained much popularity.
right. So when I asked about self-publishing, everybody in the room started laughing. And I was like, I don't get it. And the guy goes, go to the next room during our break and you'll see why. So during our break, I walked in and everybody's selling stuff. And there were these people that had crates upon crates upon crates of their book that self-published, and they have to sell it.
Mhm.
And I went, okay, I get it. So when Amazon said it, they'll print it when it's purchased, then that just made it easier for me. So I just went straight to
Yeah,
Amazon.
yeah, that's good. Okay, I know it's easier than ever to do, and yeah, I mean the upside, or I guess in some ways the downside is the work is all you, but the upside is you
Right.
get the profit and everything.
It's
And
like anything else. It's like anything else in life. It's who you know and who knows you. And
right.
if you know the right person, then yeah, you probably can get your foot in the door and you can get a publisher and stuff like that. I have gotten a number of inquiries from some publishers, but I did my research and I found out that their track record is not too good.
Sure. And I
Yeah,
mean, even a publisher you find, I mean, they, you know, unless you're really lucky, you're probably not getting in with the big ones like
right, right.
yeah, Penguin or whatever. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's cool though. Yeah, it's easier than ever. And so then you got to market it yourself and kind of get it out there. And you mentioned a little bit about doing that in the Texas area. Anything else you've done for marketing promotion?
Base this, this is a big plus.
Yeah,
Um, also, I've also put out in Smashwords, you get the
yeah,
ebook. So I got that. Um, then I also am just joined the book cave, which is another thing that you can get into to get your book out there with a group of people and stuff like that. I'm in a group that's called Brave New World, and everybody puts in what it is basically everybody that asks about your book has to turn in an email address, and then you could take that email address and put it in your newsletter, which I'm still working on slowly, procrastinatingly. But it gives you another chance to meet people and stuff like that. So,
okay, cool. Yeah, you're networking, connecting,
mhm,
you're putting the work in.
right.
And I mean, that's how I found you on Instagram, I think. And yeah, we we take the connections we have. So
Well, I mean, the number one thing I always tell people that are writing stuff and like, oh, I'm not getting anywhere, stuff like that. And I said, if you believe in your work, don't stop. Just keep plugging away because you never know what's going to happen. Am I going to be a bestseller? No, or probably not. Am I going to have a movie made out of my book? No idea. But if I stop, then I've given up on all the time I put in to put this together.
that's
Plus, the characters in my head are keep pushing me to keep writing.
yeah, yeah.
So,
But that thing
I got to keep those guys happy in my head.
yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
That quote.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think no, I'm in the same boat with you. I'm on the journey. I'm trying to get published. I've been submitting peer letters, and we'll see how that goes. But you know, I
Have you joined any competitions?
not yet really.
Look
So
into it. Look
I'm
into it because I mean, there's a little fee you can put in there,
sure.
and at least you'll
I've,
get some
I've
kind of feedback.
I've paid some small fees for
Right.
agents and stuff already, but
Okay.
I know it's it's not like being published equals being set for life. I mean,
Right.
if that's kind of the dream, and if that was ever true in past generations, it's not true anymore. So
Right.
it's, even I mean, self-published or even those who do traditional publishing through a smallish company,
Right.
you still have to put in the work. You still have to, um, you're probably not ready to quit your day job after one book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless
I
you,
find it interesting. I find it interesting. Some people that are first putting out and they're trying to say, yeah, I'm getting I'm getting an agent, I'm getting a publisher. Yeah, my book's coming out. And I'm like, these people are thinking they're going to make a lot of money in what they're doing. I mean, if your attitude is you're writing a book to make a lot of money, good luck. Good luck with that. But
yeah.
me, my reward is I'm writing a story that I want people to read and enjoy. If I can get a positive feedback, that's payment enough for me. So, if I get
Yeah.
the money, that's gravy. That's the
Yeah.
gravy.
That's a good attitude, I think. Yeah. And I mean, I'll be honest. I'd love it if money and fame and success come from it, but I've invested a lot of work into it before that ever happened. I mean, it hasn't happened yet. Spoilers.
Right.
So that's clearly that's not the primary reason we write. So
Right.
yeah, that's a good attitude to have. I think that's great. So in all that, we talked about the writing process and the getting feedback from other people and publishing and marketing. Out of all those things, what do you think is the biggest struggle for you with either writing, editing, publishing, marketing, anything along that?
Marketing. That
Marketing
is
is the hardest.
that is the biggest dragon to slay.
Okay.
I mean, if you can get your foot in somewhere where your marketing can come out and stuff like that, and you got to know if you got reputable people. There was one that I paid $67 to be marketed, and I didn't see anything. And I went, oh, okay. Well, I hope they had a good time with my money. But it's like joining Smashwords. They're having a sale right now. So anybody out there that wants to read my first book, it is free as an ebook. So for this month,
Survivors of Mutant Dawn, free on Smashwords, right?
free on Smashwords, and then half price for the second book. Through the month of July. Through the month of July. After July, it goes back.
That's like what, 10 more days. So
yeah. So
go check it out, people.
Yep, letting you know out there in case you're interested. And then what I really ask for people, and as a writer, and I'm pretty sure this would help you too, any writer out there, you want people to give you a review or a rating on your book. And the reason why you're doing it is not egocentric. I need to know what I'm doing is working. If there's something like one person put on there, I've had a couple give me 2 stars, but unfortunately the 2 stars people don't give me a review. They don't tell me what's wrong. So I'm like, how am I supposed to know what I did wrong? And I had one person give me 4 stars, and people do not like giving 5 stars. I mean, some people think you got to knock me out in order to put 5 stars.
I'll be honest. I'm writing my books on Goodreads and stuff, and I'm like, 4 stars I give out pretty generously.
Right.
5 stars is like for a book that absolutely entranced me.
Right.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, and I just ask people, look, if you read it, please just put a review or a rating. I mean, you don't have to write anything. You can just put how many stars you thought. Or if you're going to write something, you don't have to give me a long thing. Just say a great book. I enjoyed reading, da, da, da. I said, that works for me too. As long as I'm getting some type of feedback, then I know the direction I'm going is working.
Yeah.
So like I said, I've got on my first book, I got 20 reviews or 20 ratings.
Good.
And a number of people wrote in there, and one person gave me 4 stars because they said, well, the military part, I'm not that interested in and stuff like that. But after the military part was over and you got into the future, then I got really interested. Now I can't wait for the second book to come out. So, that tells me right there, okay, well, the military part was essential of the story in the beginning. But after that, anything I do, the military is going to be futuristic anyway. So I got a lot of things to play with there to get somebody's interest. So, like I tell people, if it's bad, and tell me why it's bad. Give me your, I mean, if there's something you just didn't like, fine, I get it. There's certain wines I don't like to drink, but I mean, just let me know what you don't like. And then that way I know if I get enough feedback of that, then I know I got to do something. But the opinions like those, everybody's got one and everybody's going to use it.
And it could be just a person's personal taste. Like if it's only one person who says that to you.
Yes.
But if you hear 5 or 6 people saying the same thing, might be something to listen to. It's hard as an author to know what to do with feedback because too many cooks spoil the pot, too many beta readers or reviewers also spoil the pot, I guess. But I've been in that boat before, and so at the end of the day, I mean, you get feedback, you want to learn from it, you want to be constructive, but at the end of the day, it's your story, and you got to do what you feel is best with it. So
Exactly.
it's cool. Okay. I asked you about your biggest struggle. What's your biggest strength in writing, or what do you think is one thing that your stories do really well?
Character. You
Yeah.
know, I really think out the character. I try to make them well-rounded. I don't tell everything about the character, because sometimes too much is, I mean, you're putting 100 gallons of information in a 1 gallon tank. You know, you can overdo it sometimes. So I like to make the characters rounded and relatable and likable, not necessarily, but like enough to read.
Interesting.
Like
They got to
enough
be
to read.
interesting at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, the writing part, I mean, it's weird when you start writing. Sometimes your hands take over and your brain takes over. So now you want to talk about this, put this on there, stuff like that. Things I didn't think about, but when you start writing, you get to a certain point, something else grows in your head. Like, okay, let me put that in there and stuff like that. So it's the development of writing. The use of a thesaurus is big. I can't tell you, and a lot of you guys that are writing out there, especially beginning writers, please be aware, whatever you write, look for a word in a paragraph that you're using too much.
Yeah.
Then use a thesaurus. Then you could say the same thing, just a different word for it. So I had to learn that. I mean, when I went to Don's writer's critique, there was these two elderly ladies, and and the writer's critique I was in was awesome, because she had a website. You turn your story, 20 pages of your story into that website. Everybody's in the group can download it, print it, read it. And then when we would meet, nobody reads your story. You just go down to each person. This is what I thought. This is what happened. I noticed this. And they write their little comments on each page. So at the end, I'd have a stack, about 10 copies of 20 pages of what I wrote. And I would take that and I'd have a blank one and I would write down everything everybody put on there to help me write the story better. But I had these two old elderly women, and it was like going to the woodshed every time with them. They would just kill me. And it wasn't the story, it was the way I was using words, it was my pronunciation, it was the way I expressed myself, things like that. That was really very, very helpful. Sometimes you're going to have to take a lot of negative to understand how you're going to turn that into a positive.
Yeah.
And it makes you better.
Okay. So getting feedback is essential.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I think most or all serious writers would acknowledge they need that, either from a group or at least a beta reader or an editor. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing. Sorry, I was listening, but I was setting a reminder on my phone to download the book. So I'm gonna after this sometime, maybe this coming week, I'll try to check it out and get the ebook. That sounds interesting to me. But okay. And then what's maybe you shared something about this already. What is a writing tip you can offer? Either advice for an up-and-coming author, or just something you know that maybe other people don't know?
Like I said, believe in yourself, believe in your story, understand your story, understand that, one thing I did learn. I mean, I remember when I wrote my first couple of books, then I sent it to my editor and he'd come back. What are you trying to say here? I don't get it. And I said, well, I understand it. He says, no. You're writing to the reader, not to yourself.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you have to make sure the reader understands what you're trying to say, and that you have to put yourself in the position of the reader. That has taken time for me to learn. I mean, it wasn't something I picked up at first. I still make certain mistakes over and over and over. I read, after I finish writing everything, I'll read the whole story. And then I found a new tool that really works good. And if you got 365 or something like that, is the auto part, having it read aloud back to you.
Yeah. I know
because a lot of times your ear can pick up something that your eyes didn't. So, I mean, it's somebody perfectly put, that's audio editing. And I said, you know what, is exactly what it is.
That's helpful to a lot of people I've heard. I haven't used it much myself, but maybe I should. So very cool.
I strongly recommend that. That's been a big plus. It's helped me edit a little bit quicker and faster. But understand, as you write a story, you're telling the story. But if you don't connect with the reader what good is your story? You
Mhm.
got to connect with that reader. You got to get that reader to understand what you're saying.
That's right. That's good. That's good advice for all of us. And we could go into a lot more about how we do that and all the specifics more time. But yeah, we'll leave it at that for now and let us
All right.
on how we connect to our readers. Okay. Well, I'm got a few minutes left. I told you it would be a little or no more than an hour, but I wanted to ask you,
Okay.
where is your book available? Is it just on Amazon or is it any
It
bookstores?
is on Amazon. Both books are. The third book will be there too.
Right. When's the third one coming out?
Huh?
When does the third one come out?
The third one, when I get my artist to put it together,
Yeah.
we're working on that. And one thing I learned about writing, never predict when it's coming out.
Okay, there you go.
My first one, oh yeah, the end of December. Oh yeah, in February. Oh yeah, in April. I stopped doing that. I said, when it's ready, it's coming out. That's all I can tell you. It's in the final stages.
Maybe a few months, maybe next year, but
I'm hoping probably I was thinking the end of the summer, that's not going to happen. So maybe mid-fall,
Okay. Yeah, well, look for the third book
Yeah.
in a few months, but by Christmas, good Christmas gifts. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
But they're all on Amazon, right? Or they will be.
If you got Kindle or ebook, then you can go to Smashwords. It's like $2.99 there for ebook.
Very nice.
You can get it through that, or you can get the ebook or the printed book in Amazon.
Okay.
So, either one.
Okay. Good to hear. Yeah, so look it up. Richard P. Stone. First book is Survivors of the Mutant Dawn, then The Mutated Lands, and then what do you say? Survivors in the Mutated Lands. Is that right?
Exactly. Your memory is good. You're not getting that old.
I
am, not you.
Okay. Well, one day, but anyway. And then where can people follow you and your work online? I know you're on Instagram. I know you're on Facebook.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. Richard P. Stone #1.
Okay.
On Twitter.
Facebook.
Yeah, that's basically. I mean, I said I don't hit all of them because number one, time of the day. If I'm spending time on that, I'm not spending time on the story, or I'm not spending time at work. You know what I'm saying? You're juggling hand grenades.
It's hard to balance. I'm like, I need to promote myself. I also need to actually work on my craft. So
right.
Facebook, you're Richard P. Stone authors page, and on Instagram.
You're breaking up, so I guess you said it right.
I think. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you say it again?
I said you were breaking up, so I don't know if I guess I heard it right.
I was asking you, what's your Instagram handle? I think it's Dickie Stone. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. Let me see what I got here.
That's okay. Or actually, the username. Okay, it says
it's Dickie Stone. DICKIE. Stone. That was my name growing up. That was my playing game. When I played, that was my name. So yeah.
Okay. Also, but I think it says. Yeah, but I had it. Richard P. Stone, author. So
yes,
yeah, Richard P. Stone, author. Look him up on Facebook or Instagram, so people can follow you, know what's coming out. So okay, well, Richard, thanks so much for being with us today and for answering our questions, giving us an insight into your life and your experiences and just I guess the healing power of fiction and how that story plays a big role in our lives. Anything else you want to say?
Just keep writing, keep believing in your dreams.
I'm glad
tomorrow's another day. Keep going.
That's right. Okay. Well, thanks, Richard, and thanks everyone for watching online. I saw we had a few viewers along, and of course, I hope we have more watching the replay later. As always, you can like my page, Samuel N. Harris, for future discussions and content for writers, or sign up for my mailing list at the link in the description. When you sign up, you get a free sample of my story, Fractured Heroes, a few of my favorite scenes that I think you'll enjoy. Of course, go check out Richard's work too. His book is free on Smashwords for the end of July, and go support him too. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. Thank you, Richard, for being here with us.
My pleasure.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Okay, bye.